In the previous lessons of this course, we have been looking at interesting ways in which we can create regular expressions or regex patterns, and we have seen character classes and negated character classes. Well, moving on, in this lesson we'll be looking at quantifiers. Quantifiers is an interesting concept in regular expression, and in this lesson we'll be looking at how to use quantifiers to write better regex patterns. Let's say you wanted to create a pattern that matches B followed by 5 A's, that is A. Now you could write the pattern like this: B, A, and this would match B followed by 5 A's in your string. But what if you want to match 16 A's? Now that could make your regex pattern longer. You would have something like B, A. That is 16, right? Yes. Now when you have repetitive patterns like this, you can make your regular expressions more concise using quantifiers. Quantifiers specify the quantity of a set of characters, and quantity here means the number of occurrences. So with quantifiers, you can create repeating characters in your patterns. Quantifiers are created with curly braces, and the syntax is you have the character that you want to repeat, and then in your curly braces you have the minimum occurrence or the minimum repetition, you have a comma, and then you have the maximum repetition. The maximum is optional, so you don't always have to provide it. So for example, in our 5 A's example, you can create a pattern like this. You have B and then you have A, and since you want to repeat A 5 times, then you have your curly braces, and in this curly braces you just put 5. So when you put just one value, it means a fixed number of repetitions. That means this pattern is going to match B followed by 5 A's. And let's actually try that out. So let's say we have a string like the baby says ba 5 A's. That's 5, right? Yes. Then ba, then let's say this is 4 A's and then let's say B A and B A. Let's say we have 6 A's. So this is 5 A's, 4 A's, this is 2, 3 A's, and this is 6 A's. And then let's use our pattern. So we have B and then we have A, and then we want to repeat A 5 times. So in our curly braces, which is the quantifier, would specify a number 5. So here we have 5. And I'm going to turn on my global flag here so this can match multiple occurrences. I hope you remember global flag changes the default behavior of regular expressions. By default, regular expressions would only match the first occurrence, but with the global flag we can match all the occurrences in a string. Now as you can see here, BA is not matched because A here is just one occurrence, but B A, which is 5 A's, is matched because that is what we have in our pattern, BA with the quantifier of 5. BA here doesn't match because this is just 4 A's. Now this is 2 A's, it doesn't match. This is 3 A's, it doesn't match. Now this is 6 A's, but as you can see here, only 5 of the A's are matched with B. So by having curly braces and just one number there, it means a fixed number of repetition, which is a fixed quantifier. But now let's say you want to specify a range of occurrences, then this is where you can specify the minimum and the maximum. So let's say we want to have a minimum of 2. So after 2 we have comma and then we have 5. So 2 is the minimum and 5 is the maximum. Now applying this on the string again, you can see now we have more matches. You can see BA is not matched, and that is because we only have one repetition here and we actually have a minimum of 2. If I change this to 1, you can see this is now matched. Even this BA is now matched, but I'm going to change it back to 2. So here you can see BA is matched because we have our maximum as 5. Here BA 4 A's is matched. That's because 4 is between our range 2 and 5. Then we have BAA, this is 2 A's, this also matches. This is 3 A's, this also matches. And then we have B followed by 5 A's also matches. So by specifying a range of 2 as minimum and 5 as maximum, it means B followed by 2 A's or B followed by 3 A's or B followed by 4 A's or B followed by 5 A's. And if I should make this 6, you can now see that this last string now matches completely, but I'm going to change it back to 5. So don't forget, in the quantifier here, 2 is the minimum, 5 is the maximum. Now let's say you want to do something as 2 minimum and then the maximum is infinity. So match 2 or more repetitions. In that case, you can remove the maximum but leave the comma, because if you remove the comma, it's going to be fixed. B with A repeated 2 times. But if you put the comma and you don't put a maximum, it means b followed by 2a's or b followed by 3a's or b followed by 4a's to infinity. So b followed by 5,000 a's. So let's say this particular last string here, let's say I add more a's. You can see that all the a's are actually matched. That's because we have 2 as the minimum and infinity as the maximum. I'm going to clear all these a's and leave them back to 6. That is 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Now when you're using quantifiers, you have your character and then you have the curly brace which specify how many times you want to repeat this character. Well, you can have a simple character like a, as we saw in our example here, or you can even use a character class with a quantifier. And let me show you how. So a quantifier defines a repetition of the character preceding it in the pattern. So that means you can also use a character set and apply a quantifier to that character set. For example, a character set with a range of A to Z and a quantifier specifying 3 options. Starting from the character set, this specifies a range of A to Z. So that means this can match any letter from A to Z as we saw in the character class lesson. Then by adding the quantifier, it means any letter from A to Z 1 followed by any letter from A to Z 2, the second repetition, followed by any letter from A to Z 3, and that is the 3 repetitions. And if we don't want to use a quantifier in this case, that means we would have a regular expression like this. We'll have a character class with a range of A to Z, followed by another character class with a range of A to Z, followed by another character class with a range of A to Z. So instead of having it like this, we simply can just have one character class A to Z, and then we specify a quantifier of 3, which means 3 repetitions. Now let's test this out on our regex website. So let's say we have a string like his name is D and he was a bad dev. And then I'll come here, change the pattern from what we had previously to our character class range A to Z, close the character class, and then I have a repetition of 3. So now you can see that this matches every 3 letter substrings. So it matches NAM because N is between A to Z, followed by another range of A to Z. A is between A to Z, M is between A to Z. This is the 3 occurrence or repetition of this character class matched here. You can also see that E is matched, and the reason why D is not matched is because our case is currently on strict mode. So because we specified a character class of lower A to Z here, that is why this upper D is not matched. So if I come to the flags here and I put case insensitive, you can now see that even the first result that wasn't matched before is now matched. So we have HIS, NAM, DEE, AND. He is not matched, and that is because this is just a repetition of 2 times. H is between A to Z, E is between A to Z, but we expected 3 repetitions, not just 2. So this is not matched. WS is matched, A is not matched, bad is matched, dev is matched. Now one thing you need to note here is that, as you can see in this beginning, H is matched. Because we have a character class like this, it doesn't mean match H 3 times like H. No, what this pattern means here is, as we saw previously, it means A to Z followed by A to Z followed by A to Z. So in this first A to Z, this can match maybe the letter P, or as we saw here, this match the letter H. In the second A to Z, this can match any character between A to Z, and you can see here it matched I. And then here in this A to Z, it can match any character between A to Z, and that is why we have S. So having A to Z like this with the quantifier of 3, it doesn't mean any character you match between A to Z repeat it 3 times. Like if you match H, then it should be HHH, or if you match P, then it should be PPP. No, it means match any character between A to Z once, followed by another character between A to Z twice, followed by another character between A to Z for the 3rd time. So it's really important that you understand this, because when I was also trying out quantifiers and character sets, I also expected that it was going to match HHH, but then it was matching something else. So this is also something you need to understand, that a character class with a quantifier means any character in that character set followed by any character in that character set followed by any character in that character set, depending on how many repetitions you want. So coming to a character class here, if I now do maybe a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 3, you can now see that his is matched, matched, NAM is matched, the E is not matched because our character class is 2 minimum, 3 maximum. If I change this to 4 maximum, you can now see that name is matched completely. I'm going to change this back to 3. So this is how you can mix character sets with quantifiers. And the character class doesn't just have to be A to Z. We can also have a mixed character class. So we can have a mixed character class like A to Z, 0 to 9. So here we have letters and digits. And for the quantifier, we can even have 9 as the minimum, and then we can have infinity as the maximum. This is even a simple way of checking if the length of a password has a minimum number of characters of 9. So let's say we enter a password like 1 2 3 4 ABCD. You can see that this is not a match, and that is because we expect 9 as the minimum. So by the time I add maybe E, for example, you can see this becomes 9. So with this simple regular expression here, we have created a pattern that matches any character between A to Z or 0 to 9, followed by the same character class, followed by the same character class for at least 9 times, and then infinity is the maximum. So if we even have more characters after this, you can see everything is matched. But watch what happens when we put a character that is not in the character class. If I put maybe dollar symbol, you can see this is no longer matched, and that is because we expected only a character between A to Z and 0 to 9, and dollars is not between A to Z and 0 to 9, and that is why the match stopped here. But if you're creating regular expressions for passwords, you shouldn't be using something like this, and that is because just by typing passwords like this with an S, you can see that this matches. Even if it doesn't contain a number or a symbol, it matches, and that's because our character class is any character between A to Z or between 0 to 9. So in a real world application, if you're trying to create a regular expression to match the password that the user enters, do not use this. This was just for an example's sake to show you that we can use mixed character classes with quantifiers. Apart from creating quantifiers with curly braces, as we saw minimum and maximum between curly braces, there are actually other kinds of quantifiers that you can use in regular expressions, and these are special characters. These special characters include the star sign, includes the question mark, and it includes the plus sign. I have a separate lesson for special characters, so when we get to that lesson, we're going to see these special characters that can also be used for quantifiers. And before we proceed to the next lesson, I have some assignments for you to try out. Let's say we have this pattern which contains a negated character class and a quantifier, and we want to use this pattern to validate the password that the user enters. Can you interpret what this pattern means? Pause this video and try to figure out the interpretation before I share the answer. Okay, so in this pattern, we have a negated character class and a quantifier just after the negated character class. In the negated character class, we have the @ symbol, the dollar symbol, open brackets, close brackets, and the hash symbol, which means match every other character except these characters. And in the quantifier, we have a minimum of 7 and a maximum of 11, which means this negated character class should be repeated minimum 7 times and maximum 11 times. So if the user enters a password like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, that would be valid because 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 is not in the negated character class, and it has a length of 7. If we also look at the password like Deeecode 100, that would also be valid because DEEECODE100 is not in the negated character class, and it has a length of 11. Also, a password like my underscore, pass underscore, asterisk, and the exclamation sign would also be valid because all of these characters are not in the negated character class. But passwords like dollar my underscore password, secret liar 200, 100 subscribers, these passwords will be invalid, and the reason is for the first invalid password, you can see a dollar sign in the password, and in our negated character class, a dollar sign is part of it, which means a dollar sign should not be in the password. For the second invalid password, although all these characters cannot be found in the negated character class, but it has a length of 13, and in our quantifier, we have a maximum of 11. Also the same thing for the third invalid password, although 100 subscribers, all of these characters are not in the negated character class, it has a length that is more than the maximum quantifier that we have. For the second assignment, you are going to be writing your own regular expression. So let's say I have this string. Here are 3 dates for the event, and I have this date, and I have this date, and I have this date, and these 3 dates are in the format of DD-MM-YYYY, which is date, month, and year. Can you write the correct regular expression that would match these 3 dates? And your regular expression should contain a character class and a quantifier. Now pause this video, head on to the REGEX101.com website, enter this string, and try to figure out a pattern for this assignment before I share the answer. So I believe you've attempted to do this and you got a pattern that solved the problem, but let me share a solution and maybe it's the same thing with yours. So for the date, we have a character class. We know that a date can either be 0 something, or it can be 1 something, or it can be 2 something, or it can be 3 something, but we know that a date cannot be 4 something. So this is our character class 0, 1, 2, 3, and I can use a range like 0 to 3. Now for the second part of the date, we know that it can be 1, 2, 3, it can be any number, so I would have 0 to 9, followed by hyphen, and then I have another character class. Now for the month, we know that a month can be 0 something and it can be 1 something, but it cannot be 2 something. Close my character class. I have another character class. Now for the other part of the month, this can also be any number, so I have 0 to 9, and then I have hyphen. Now for the year, I know that the year can be 0 something, it can be 1 something, it can be 2 something, it can be any number, any year. So I can simply have 0 to 9 like this, and I can repeat this 4 times, 0 to 9, 0 to 9, and 0 to 9 like this. But instead of repeating it 4 times like this, I can just use a quantifier and pass 4, which means a repetition of 4. And as you can see here, the dates here is matched, the date here is matched, and the date here is matched. Now let me try to enter an invalid date. Let's say I have an invalid date like 43rd of January 2029. You can see this doesn't match, and the reason for that is because 4 is not in our first character class. Our first character class says 0 to 3. If I make this 0 to 4, you see that the fourth date now matches, but there is no date like this, so I'm going to do 0 to 3. So I hope these assignments give you a better understanding of quantifiers and also shows you how to use quantifiers with character classes. Now let's move on to the next lesson in this regex course.